Hello everybody and welcome to another video from me. Look at me, I'm posting regularly. Uh, Today's video is going to be a sort of catch-up video for me. It's going to be a breakdown of each division in the NFL, all the teams, and pretty much a breakdown of what has happened in the first 3 quarters of the season. I know I haven't posted in a while and the season has already been going on for almost 4 months. Uh, but hey, I want to do something. We're ready. End of week 13. We're going into week 14. So it's going to be very, very fun. I'm going to give a breakdown of some teams, some disappointing teams, some surprising teams, and pretty much all about that. But let's get right into it. So, firstly, the division that I want to talk about, I will be going in the AFC, then NFC, and I'll be going in the order of regular north, east, southwest. So, to start off, is the AFC North, and this division has been relatively quiet and unsurprising for me. I really thought the Bengals were going to take the division really easily, and the Ravens wouldn't really stand a chance. But hey, they're both tied for first place in that division, and the other two teams, the Pittsburgh Steelers and the Browns, are finishing third and fourth places respectively, which makes sense for the order of the division. I think that coming down in these final few weeks, in the final month of the season, I think that it's totally dependent on the final game these two teams play against each other later on, and I think that that game will pretty much decide who wins the division. Currently, for me, the Ravens are more surprising because I really expected them not to be as good this year, uh, due to their disappointing season last year, which they finished 8-8. Like they were pretty much uh, mediocre the entire season, or I think it was 8-9 they finished, but still they were really mediocre the entire season. I felt that honestly it was going to continue, and I felt that especially after their loss to Miami and the amount of blown leads they've had, that majority of their losses, I think all four of their losses have been blown leads in the fourth quarter or third quarter where they had massive leads. For me, that's very, very surprising. And I think that this team has been given a lot of luck, I guess. Their schedule hasn't been very difficult, and the teams that they've lost to have both been teams that have been really good and then teams that they shouldn't have lost to. So we're getting really a mixed bag. I think that the Ravens are probably going to have a playoff spot in the AFC. They're probably going to be a wild card team. I truly think the Bengals are still going to win the division, especially the way that they've been playing. They've been very, very hot over the last few weeks, beating the Chiefs last week. I think that the Bengals are going to win the division, and I think that the Ravens might make the playoffs, be a wild card team, and I really doubt they're going to do anything in the playoffs this year. Cleveland and Pittsburgh, they both suck. Cleveland's going to get Deshaun Watson back, or did get Deshaun Watson back. They beat the Texans last week, but Pittsburgh, they're sort of in no man's land. Their Kenny Pickett has been okay for them, but overall that team hasn't been very impressive. Again, Browns, another unimpressive team, like I mentioned. Deshaun Watson's gonna be back, gonna get them a few wins, but really their season's already over. There's nothing that's gonna happen for them. They just have to wait for the end of the season, and hopefully they can rebuild, reload, come next season. Next division is the AFC East. This division has been the most enjoyable in the AFC, in my opinion. I've loved watching almost all their games in between their divisions. Started off between a race between the Bills and the Dolphins for first place. The Dolphins Bills in week 3, and ever since then, it's sort of been each team has beat the other. Jets beat the Bills in New Jersey. The Patriots beat the Jets, and the Patriots lose to the Bills, and Miami beats the Bills. Like it's a whole sort of cycle of teams that really can't get an edge on anybody else in the division, and it's very, very exciting. I really enjoy watching these teams play. I think that the Dolphins are going to be a competitor, a really possible Super Bowl contender. Even though they lost to Brock Purdy and the Niners last week, they're still a really, really good team, still 8-4, and they're going to be really, really tough team to beat in the playoffs, especially with the Bills. They have a game ahead of them, but still, if there's a tiebreaker needed between those two teams, the Dolphins have that advantage unless the Bills even it up in Buffalo later on this season. I think that this is going to be a very, very tight division, and there's a possibility that all four teams in their division make it to the playoffs unless some things happen where the Ravens bottom out and it's only the Bengals there, or maybe the Ravens get there and the Bengals bottom out. Something has to happen, but I think it's a real possibility where the Jets somehow make the playoffs in a team that was not expected to do anything this year, especially with old Zach Wilson controversy with his team and him not taking accountability. That team was not meant to do anything this year, and they're meant to be a bottom feeder, and they have a winning record for the first time in a long time. This division is so much fun to watch. Can't wait for what's going to happen in the next few weeks, over the next month of the season, to see who makes it, see who doesn't, see what happens in between these divisional matchups. Next on our list is the AFC South. This division for me has been very, very boring, very, very pretty much irrelevant. Honestly, all these teams in that division get no media coverage. The Jaguars have been all right. They haven't been great for a team that really had no expectations this year. They're pretty much following right on cue, doing nothing. Texans, bottom feeder, the worst team in the league right now. Deservingly, they have nobody. They're in a rebuild, and they need a quarterback. Titans, again, they're leading the division, but still, they're a team that's not really that enjoyable. They're 7-5. They're not really a good team. They're not really a bad team. I just think that they're gonna win the division. They're gonna make the playoffs, and I doubt they're gonna do anything in there, just because they really have no expectations, and we just gotta wait and see for them. And then the Colts, their fiasco at quarterback, Matt Ryan, gets benched for the year, then goes back in, and then gets benched and goes back in, and this team is just a mess. That hiring of Jeff Saturday was a little bit of a head scratcher for me personally. I didn't expect him to be picked as their head coach, but hey, if you want that morale guy who played for the team and loves the city, that's the perfect guy for them. And I think that if they can somehow keep him, maybe there's going to be a change in morale. I'm not sure. Overall, this team is just very irrelevant and disappointing, and we're just going to have to wait for next year for them. Rebuild, just get some draft picks, and start new come next season. Finally, for the AFC is the AFC West, a division that I have enjoyed a lot, with the Chiefs pretty much cruising to a division title. They're doing pretty much all they have to do. Really good this year, and they're 9-3, and it's pretty easy that they're going to win this division. Chargers, second place, pretty much mediocre. Can have a really good game followed by a really bad game, such as last week against the Raiders was a really bad game for them. And I think that team, they're not going to make the playoffs. I really doubt it. The only chance they have is if the Patriots bottom out, or one of those teams in the AFC East do, and the Chargers take that spot. But really, even if they make the playoffs, they're not going to be doing much. This team is just very messed up in a way that it doesn't flow properly. Justin Herbert's pretty much carrying the team, and Keenan Allen, Mike Williams, like, this team is just being carried by their superstars. Khalil Mack has been the most irrelevant player. J.C. Jackson, a signing, is also irrelevant. This team is expected to be a top team in the league come this year, adding stuff for Justin Herbert, and they're just pretty much mediocre, and I really doubt they're going to do anything this season to change that. I just think they're going to stay mediocre, and then hopefully they'll make some moves in the offseason. Raiders, another interesting story, winning 3 in a row, starting off horrible with only one win, possibly the worst team in the league, and they've slowly heated it up, beating my Seahawks. But that's another story. Josh Jacobs has been pretty much carrying this team. Derek Carr has been unplayable at times, and other times really, really good. The most inconsistent quarterback out there, arguably. And for them, I really think that they need to somehow use this momentum that they have to just try to win some games. They're not going to do anything in the playoffs. They're not going to make a playoff spot, in my opinion. I really doubt it, unless a bunch of teams bottom out, which is hardly going to happen. For them, they just need to use this momentum, hopefully get some morale, get some realizations that, hey, you've got Davante Adams, you've got these stars, that you can use these games, like their footage, the way they've been playing, as a way for them to train and practice for next season to hopefully actually start their contending push and actually do something in the regular season, which has not been the case this year. And finally, last but not least for this division, the team that I am very happy that is struggling right now is the Denver Broncos. I know a lot of you have been getting tons and tons of media posts about the Broncos, how they have the best defense in the league and the worst offense in the league. The season started off with my Seattle Seahawks playing against the Denver Broncos, and we won, scoring 1 point more than them and then losing on a missed field goal. And that was pretty much the story of their season up until this point, losing terrible games against teams they should be beating, especially with Russell Wilson. And this team has been absolutely awful. Their defense has been continuously let down by everybody on the offense, especially Russell Wilson, playing the worst football of his career. And arguably, it's pretty crazy to me seeing a guy that was really decent up until last year, and that injury took him out, and he was still pretty decent when he came back. Not the best, but he really wasn't that bad. To see him go from that to one of the worst quarterbacks in the league, and arguably not even in the top 32, where there's 32 teams in a league and you're not even the best starting quarterback, where there's a backup better than you, that's a big issue. And I think that for him, he's got a bunch more years in Denver. This contract is looking terrible for them. They're going to have to eat it up. Tens of millions of dollars in cap space dead that they cannot remove, and it's going to be dead if they trade him or release him somehow. It's just a mess for them, and I think that they need to somehow build a team around him that can cater to his strengths. It may just be because of age. It may just be that he's not as good as anymore. He's not as mobile anymore. He's not as accurate anymore. But you still got to use this as a tool to contend, and you can't just totally ignore it and say, oh, he's washed. Maybe he's just having a down year. It's very disappointing to see, and I really, really hope that Russell Wilson can get it back together, because the media's just been clowning him all the time, and it shows in his play and it shows in his attitude. It's pretty sad to see that now people are really, really clowning him and hating on him, when 1 year ago he was seen as this really nice, calm quarterback, and just him leaving Seattle has painted him in a completely different light. And I think that for him, this Broncos team needs to somehow just use whatever talent they have, try as best as they can to do something this year. And it's probably not going to happen. They don't even have a draft pick, so this team is really in free fall, and they need to have some big changes. Now, on to the NFC, starting off with the NFC North. The last place team in the division, the Chicago Bears, actually lost to the Green Bay Packers, in which you are expecting the Packers to easily beat them, obviously, especially in Chicago. But this Chicago Bear team has been really disappointing, but also really promising at the same time. Justin Fields has been really, really good, pretty much carrying the team and having a great leadership attitude for him. But other than that, this team has been pretty much irrelevant. The whole team around him is terrible. They traded Roquan Smith earlier in the season to the Ravens. They've pretty much just tanked, and hopefully Justin Fields can use this time where he's losing to learn how it feels, possibly use it as motivation to do better next season. And it's really not his fault. He's on pace, was on pace before his injury, to break Lamar Jackson's records, where he won MVP for that on a winning team. If Justin Fields did that and was on a winning team, he'd hands down win MVP. It's insane that this guy has stuck it out for this team, been happy to be there, excited to be there, and he still wants to be there. And that shows really good things about his character, and the fact that he can take this team that sucks that much and use it and just take it for what it is and be happy about it. And it shows that this team, if they can build around him, they can be actually really, really impactful, especially with sort of wiping the house clean of their coach, their owner, not their owner, their general manager, all the front office stuff, to make a new team, to rebuild their image. That now that they're putting in that effort, and if they can just get some stuff around them, they can be a really successful team in a few years. Next up, the Lions. I really want to talk about this Lions team. I find it to be super, super enjoyable, and a team that you cannot hate. Even teams in the NFC North cannot hate them. The Lions have been pretty much a laughing stock for forever, always. Matthew Stafford has his career wasted there. Calvin Johnson, a Hall of Famer, pretty much did nothing in the playoffs because of that team. And I think that for them to see that and to see what they are now, it's a completely different change. And I think Dan Campbell is a significant part of that. His culture that he has, his drive to want to coach this team. He cares about the players. He cares about everybody in this organization. To see that is a very, very impactful thing as a player and as a fan. And to me, they're my second favorite team right now. I support the Lions. They're super fun to watch. They've been really, really hot recently, going really close to 500. A couple games and they're at 500. And hey, They could even make a playoff spot at this point. They are not going to be a bottom feeder team this year, and they have the Rams draft pick this year. So they have a lot of hope for the next coming years where they can use these draft picks that they have from the Rams and still build their team while they don't suck. And that's a big thing for a team. I really think that this Lions team is going to be a big contender in the NFC North in a few years, and it's going to be a tough division once the Packers fall and the Bears and the Lions go above them. It's going to be a three-team race in that division. Finally, the Minnesota Vikings, the team that is arguably sweeping this division, destroying them. They're one of the best teams in the league. I think they're 10-2, and overall, this team has been very, very fun to watch. And they've also been they're 10-3, and they're really, really enjoyable to watch. At times they can be very, very inconsistent, losing against really good teams, but other times they can crush others. So you really don't know what you're gonna get. But currently, Justin Jefferson is one of the best receivers in the league, and Kirk Cousins is benefiting a lot from that. And clearly, it shows. The way he's playing is just totally different from what he has in the past. They're not that 8-8, 8-9, 9-8 team anymore. And it shows that Mike Zimmer was probably the problem. And now they're killing it. They're doing really well. And I'm really happy for this team because they deserve it. They've been so always under the shadow of that Packers team, always second fiddle to them. And now they're first in the division, showing it tons of games above everybody else in that division. And it is very, very fun to watch this team that's not restricted in something, and they can just play free and have some fun. Finally, the Green Bay Packers, a big, big team that has been very, very successful over the last few decades, and are finally seeing that not be as true this season. Aaron Rodgers was benched in the Eagles game that he had, or I think he was injured. I think he was benched though. And Jordan Love came in, and ever since then, Christian Watson has been killing it. This team is sort of inconsistent, but also it's just not a fun season for Packers fans. This team has been very disappointing when they needed it most. Their defense would blow it because their offense couldn't do anything. If their offense can't do anything, that defense collapses and it just becomes a mess. Aaron Rodgers is feeling it without Davante Adams, but Christian Watson has been that small replacement that can do something to fill the gap that is left. And this team is in free fall. They're going to get a good draft pick, but Aaron Rodgers, that deal is looking a little stupid come this time of year. And I think that for them, they should honestly draft another quarterback. If they're going to go with Jordan Love, hey, stick with him. Then just draft somebody else. But if they don't think Jordan Love is the guy, and it's pretty much proven to them that they really don't care about the guy, yes, they're doing exactly what they did with Rodgers, sitting him behind a guy, learning the play calling, the way to play, all that stuff, like a mentor. But really, I don't think Jordan Love is the guy for them. Now, on the NFC East, another super surprising division. I'll go quickly over them. All four teams have a winning record, including Washington and the Giants, both teams that were not expected to be good this year, and I personally expected them to be bottom feeders in the NFL. Both teams have been killing it. And both quarterbacks have been very, very interesting to watch, very fun to watch, and have had sort of career resurgences. Taylor Heinicke has been killing it for the Washington Commanders, and they've pretty much just killed it whenever he's had there. He's gotten a lot of luck for plays. He's had a lot of luck having throws that should have been incomplete or intercepted drop for them being caught. And this team has been very, very enjoyable to watch. I really think that they can possibly have a playoff push if some teams above them can sort of bottom out. For example, the San Francisco 49ers or the Seattle Seahawks or anybody, even the Giants, really. They need to let them bottom out. And if that can happen, they can actually make a playoff spot. The Giants, another team that's super surprising. Daniel Jones has a career resurgence. Saquon Barkley has been very, very good for them at times when he's getting a lot of touches and getting a lot of yards, obviously. But hey, the Giant team has been very, very surprising. Brian Daboll looks like a really good coach in the NFL, and it shows. He's got a lot of love for this team, And I really think that this team, if they can build on it, somehow if they decide to keep Jano Jones, they can do really, really good. And if they can make a playoff spot, hey, they can do something. They've beaten some really good teams. You never know. Then the other two teams, the Eagles, the best team in the league by far, record wise, and honestly, play style wise, they've been killing it, and it's super, super enjoyable to watch. Um, Obviously, the Cowboys are right behind them. Some people call them the second best team in the league. Those two teams have been killing it. The Cowboys have had a very, very consistent defense. Micah Parsons has been great for them. Their offense has been inconsistent at times, especially with Dak Prescott. And their running game can have great games and then super bad games. Depends on who they're playing. And I think both of those teams are definitely going to make the playoffs. Cowboys are going to be the fifth seed. I think the Eagles are going to run away with the division. They're going to keep rolling. They're going to get first place. They're a really fun team to watch. Same with the Cowboys. It's going to be very, very exciting come playoff time. NFC South, a division that I will talk very, very shortly on. All teams are below 500. Carolina, as expected. The Saints, a little bit in free fall. They traded their picks, and now the Eagles have their first round pick, which would be a top 5 pick at the time. They were just in free fall. They have nothing going for them. Their cap space is terrible. They have nothing going on. They've got a lot of panic, and they need to somehow fix this quick, which I doubt is going to happen. Something needs to happen for them. They need to make changes, but we'll have to wait for the offseason for them because they're definitely not making the playoffs. Panthers, as I said, a team that is bottom feeder, still can't find their quarterback solution. They have a lot of issues, and hopefully they can fix it this offseason, do some small stuff, maybe restart their rebuild. I'm not sure, but there's a lot of problems. Falcons have been a very surprising team, in my opinion. Marcus Mariota has been really good for them. This team has been expected to be one of the worst in the league, and they've shown actually have a chance at winning the NFC South. And currently, I think that they're not going to. The way that they're playing is pretty fun, but it's just not consistent, and it's not possible for them to win this division, especially with the Buccaneers playing as good football as they have all season right now. Frankly, they haven't been playing great this season, but still, I think that the Falcons are a fun team to watch, but expectation wise, it's just a good year, a good motivation. Hey, we have some good talent. We need to build on it. Maybe get a new quarterback if they don't want to stick with Marcus Mariota. But hey, fun team to watch. There's really nothing much to say about that team. Finally, the Bucks. They're the Bucks. They're winning the division, obviously, but this year has been quite different from last year. They're 6-6, pretty much mediocre. This team can be very good at times and very bad at other times. It's just the most inconsistent team in the NFL, arguably. There's a bunch of other teams who are consistent. I keep saying that, but really, this team has gone away with a lot of issues. Tom Brady has been great since the divorce, so maybe that's a factor. But hey, this team, they're probably going to win the division, maybe even with a losing record, fourth seed, and then Tom Brady magic wills them in the playoffs. And finally, the NFC West, the most enjoyable division, obviously, because my favorite team is in it. But I'm going to go through team by team. Firstly, with the Los Angeles Rams, the team that was expected to be fighting for their Super Bowl championship, possibly going back to back, is doing the exact opposite. The third worst team in the league, and recently lost to the Seattle Seahawks, a team that has not beaten them in, I think, a year. I don't think they beat them last year. And they haven't beaten them at home or on the road in a few years, at least, maybe 2016. This team has been very, very disappointing. Their star players, Matthew Stafford, has been awful. He's injured. Aaron Donald got injured. He was playing pretty good, but he was carrying this defense. Jalen Ramsey has been on and off at times. This team has been very, very inconsistent, and it shows in their record. I think that this team might be battling for a top 5 pick. The only problem is that Detroit has their pick. So this team is being terrible for nothing. There's no benefit for them, and it shows. Who knows? Maybe Aaron Donald's going to retire. Sean McVay's going to retire. This is an issue for them, and I guess it's what you pay the price for a championship, and they're just going to have to wait and see, get the season over with, see what happens in the offseason if a lot of changes happen. I doubt it. Cardinals, a team that's expected to be pretty good, trying to bounce back from their disappointing wildcard exit, but this year has been not so good for them either. They've been very, very disappointing. Their team has just been pretty much mediocre. Kyler Murray has a really good game and then a really bad game. All around, this team has just sort of been unexpected. They've just been very surprising. you don't really know what you're going to get from them. And overall, this is just a Cardinals team that isn't very fun. I just don't enjoy it. I don't enjoy watching them. They got swept by the Seahawks. The Niners beat them. The Chiefs killed them in week 1. This team has just been so disappointing. And honestly, they're going to be battling for a top 10 pick. They need it. They need more draft picks because currently, the way that it's going, it is not working for them. The Niners, again, first in the division, battling with the Seahawks first in the division. You didn't expect that coming into the season. You expected these teams to be third and fourth, but they're first and second. The Niners have been really, really good, but unfortunately, Jimmy Garoppolo and Trey Lance, who was the original starter, are both injured for the season, so they got their Mr. Irrelevant playing quarterback for them. I'm not sure how it's going to work for the rest of the season, but they did beat the Seahawks earlier in the season, so the Seahawks are at a little bit of a disadvantage. They're a game behind them, so hopefully, for my team, they can jump over them, and Brock Purdy isn't a great quarterback for them. He's Mr. Irrelevant. He wasn't exactly a flashy quarterback coming out of college. He wasn't expected to be a top 10 pick. He's obviously the last pick in the draft. So for them, they just got to let their defense carry them. Deebo Samuel, their talent that they have, carry them, or else this can be a big mess for them. And finally, the Seattle Seahawks, my favorite team, has been very, very surprising for me. I'm very surprised at how Geno Smith is playing. He's been very, very good, very, very consistent. I think he learned a few things from being the backup to a bunch of those really good guys like Eli Manning, Phillip Rivers, and Russell Wilson. Those are 3 really good guys you can learn from, and it shows. He's been very, very good with the ball. He's only having rare mistakes in games, and really all the games that they've lost haven't really been his fault. All the games that they've won have been very, very impactful from him. He's been very, very good on that side, and I think overall, I really enjoy watching him play. The receivers have been great. DK Metcalf and Tyler Lockett, a great 1-2 punch as always. The running backs, Rashad Penny had a great start to the season. Unfortunately, he's out for the rest of the season, which sucks because he was so good when he was playing, especially in that Lions game. For the other back, Kenneth Walker, has been very, very good for us too. Unfortunately, he's injured for I'm not sure how long, but he's been very, very good for us as a rookie, arguably Offensive Rookie of the Year. He's been very, very good, and I really enjoy the other parts of this offense. The offensive line hasn't been that bad for Geno. Overall, this offense has been very, very good, and they've been humming really well. Defensive wise, not so much. There's a few lowlights on this, especially the game against the Raiders, allowing 300 yards for Josh Jacobs. Overall, the team has been very, very fun to watch. The defense has been really good at times, other times really, really bad. You're not sure what you're going to get, but the offense has been very consistent on the other hand. Defensive wise, really nothing much has stood out except Jordan Brooks and Tariq Woolen. Jordan Brooks has been very good as always. He's sort of got all his stuff from Bobby Wagner, which is unfortunate because if we could have kept him, this defense could have been slightly better. Maybe have a few games, a few more wins, who knows. But Tariq Woolen has been the surprise for me. I really didn't know who he was coming into the season, but I am very excited that we drafted him. It's sort of similar to the Richard Sherman situation where he was a 5th, 4th rounder. Nobody knew him, and he just came on the scene and was really, really good. And I think that he has a chance to win Defensive Rookie of the Year unless Sauce Gardner takes it for him for the Jets. Who knows? But Tariq Woolen has been very, very good. League leader in picks, which, hey, if you're going to base that as an important stat, as you did with Trayvon Diggs last season, then you should be caring about Tariq Woolen this year. But hey, that's another story. I really enjoy this team. They have a chance to win the division, and I think that if they can keep their consistency, if the Niners start having some issues with Brock Purdy, they can possibly win the division and host a playoff game for a team that was expected to be one of the worst in the league this season, always ranked 30th, 31st, 32nd. This team has been very surprising, and they're playing with house money. They've got a top draft pick, because of their trade with the Broncos. Like, they have a lot of potential, especially with the way that the rookies have been playing, and now adding on that draft pick, they can have a really, really good bounce back, and the rebuild could be really, really short. Who knows? But hey, that's all. My discussion's a little long, but it is what it is. I just enjoy talking about sports and the NFL. I'm hopefully going to get back into the weekly reviews if I have time. Unfortunately, we're getting into the more stressful part of the school season, I guess, the school year, and I'll try to post some videos. Maybe I'll post a end of regular season recap, but this has been super fun. Hopefully you have some opinions about what I thought, who's that good, who's not so good. I'm not sure, but hey, hope you enjoyed the video. Like and subscribe if you want, and I'll see you in the next one.